Have you ever thought about when you go to pitch whether it's right to sit like this? Or should we stand? Be a bit clever. If you're seated like this, I've always regretted it, things feel pretty comfortable. Don't be stupid. The downside of sitting down, use your common sense, our audience can interject and interrupt us. If we're sat down, it's all too easy to fold into a normal conversation meeting style pitch. Don't be stupid. That's not what we want. If we stand, we have a number of advantages. We can speak more loudly. It's much easier to use body language. The real reason we should always stand when we pitch, the formality it conveys. When the speaker stands up, it's time to be quiet, and when the speaker sits down, it's okay to talk again. The audience is a lot less likely to interject and interrupt. Your pitch deserves some respect. Your pitch deserves some respect. Have you ever thought about when you go to pitch whether it's right to sit like this? Or should we stand? If you're seated like this, things feel pretty comfortable. You walk into the room with your prospective clients, you sit down opposite them, you're at their eye level, and things feel easy, things feel natural. And of course, we want that in a pitch. The downside of sitting down is because it feels informal, it in actual fact takes on the spirit of a normal meeting or a conversation, which means what? It means our audience can interject and interrupt us when we're pitching, and we don't really want that. If we stand, we have a number of advantages. To begin with, we can speak more loudly because we're stood up, we're not crouched over. More people are likely to hear us because we can project more as our diaphragms, our chests can expand fully. We can also find it easier to use visual display units like this when we're stood up. And when we're stood, it's much easier to use body language to express our feelings about what we're talking about, to emphasize our pitch. We can move from one side of the room to the other side and then back again. I can use that to stress 3 points. 1 point here, 1 point there, another point when I come back here. But that's not the real reason we should always stand when we pitch. The real reason we should always stand when we pitch is the formality it conveys. Think about all the times you're at school, at university, in college, at talks. You know when the speaker stands up, it's time to be quiet, and when the speaker sits down, it's okay to talk again. It means you're giving the floor to the speaker for that period of time, and the audience is a lot less likely to interject and interrupt if you're stood up talking. It also suggests that your pitch deserves some respect. In other words, it is a serious opportunity, and that is conveyed by standing up. If we're sat down, it's all too easy to fold into a normal conversation meeting style pitch. That's not what we want. Now, I understand this can be tricky. I have often gone into meetings and felt like just sitting there and not standing to pitch. And the times that I've sat down and pitched across a table, I've always I've always regretted it, because I know it would have been far better had I stood up. Yes, it means the audience needs to shuffle around and suddenly all focus on you, but believe me, that initial discomfort will subside and they'll buy into you more if you stand, because you're making a formal pitch and you are giving your pitch and yourself the respect that you deserve. Always stand when you pitch. Unless you're sat in a cafe because you walked into a room like this and got told it was booked, so you had to go down into a cafe and do a pitch in there. Don't be stupid. Don't stand up in the middle of Starbucks and start pitching. Sit down. Be a bit clever. Use your common sense and only stand a pitch where appropriate.